My daughter, who had always been sensitive to things beyond my comprehension, suddenly spoke up. Her small voice echoed in the quiet of the night, sending chills down my spine. "Grandma, who passed away, is telling us to run away right now," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with fear. It was late, and we were staying at my in-laws' house. I was confused and asked, "What are you talking about?" My daughter took my hand, urging me to go outside. "Mommy, we have to go now. Grandma says it's not safe in here." Her urgency was palpable, and I couldn't ignore it. Despite my skepticism, I trusted her instincts. Together we left the house and quietly stepped into the cool night air. As we walked, she shared her story, leaving me speechless. My daughter had always possessed a mysterious ability, sensing things that others couldn't. At that moment, fear overwhelmed me. I never imagined that person would be involved in something like this. I've never been more terrified of human beings. I was 34 when I met Michael, who was 4 years younger than me. A year later, we decided to get married. We built a house about a 10-minute drive from his parents' place and started our new journey together. "Olivia, let's always be happy together," he said. He was extremely kind, and his parents welcomed me warmly. Michael works attentively every day to make his father's company more successful. To support him, I had to quit my full-time job and start working part-time with more flexible hours. Then there's my sister-in-law, Sophia, who mocks and says, "Why even work part-time? You are just relying on Michael to take it easy." She has never liked me since our early days of marriage. Sophia is almost the same age as me, but she enjoys the single life and lives alone. She looks like a career-driven woman, if you ask me. I used to admire her so much and respected her. I even thought that if I had continued working at a full-time job, I could become like her. Sophia usually makes Michael do chores for her. "Michael, I want to eat some ice cream. You can use the change for your liking," she says. He complies, and it's a common conversation we hear when everyone gathers at the in-laws' house. Sophia has always doted on Michael, and he doesn't oppose her even as a 30-year-old old man. Being an only child, I sometimes get jealous of their relationship. I wish I could get along with Sophia, I thought. But contrary to my expectations, she often treats me harshly. She was somewhat overbearing and would occasionally visit our home when my husband was out. "Olivia, I can see there's a hair on the floor," she spat. "I've been quite busy today. I was planning to clean later." "You're just working part-time, aren't you? Stop making excuses and get it done. Michael has to live in a dirty place. It's such a pity," she said. Sighing, I complied with her demands. As I cleaned, she'd barge into the kitchen and help herself to the half-prepared dishes, tasting them without asking. "Ugh, there is no flavor at all. How can you make something this terrible?" "It's not done yet." "I wonder why even Michael married someone like you." She never bothered to listen to my side of the story, always bringing up Michael's name. To be honest, I wasn't that skilled at housework, so I felt somewhat resigned to her criticisms. However, there were some things I simply couldn't bear. "You only have flashy clothes, don't you? And yet your underwear is so plain." She'd open my closet without permission and inspect its contents. "Sophia, please stop," I pleaded, but she remained nonchalant, often wearing a mocking expression that made me wonder if she enjoyed seeing me uncomfortable. Sophia even checks inside my closet. I've told her multiple times, but it doesn't work. Can't you tell her to stop? I appealed to my husband when he returned home. His response wasn't appealing to me. Really? Maybe she's just curious about what kind of person my wife is. Despite our conversation, he took no action. I felt disappointed when Michael didn't talk to her. Sophia's absurd behavior continued. A year into our marriage, when our daughter Mia was born, her actions worsened further. She glared at me because my daughter was crying. "She cries so much. It's your fault for lousy parenting. And to think you had a girl? Do you even realize you're the wife of the eldest son? She would make snide remarks about everything, eventually throwing hurtful words and blaming everything on me. My husband did notice this, yet he always turned a blind eye. Lately, Sophia's tone has been cruel, and it's honestly tiring. You're at fault here, Olivia. Are seriously you implying that Sophia is hysterical? I didn't say that. He consistently took Sophia's side, refusing to listen to me properly. As time passed, my dissatisfaction with Michael grew. Is it gonna stay like this forever? Divorce crossed my mind a few times, but having experienced the loneliness of being raised by a single parent after my own parents' separation, I hesitated. I didn't want my daughter to have the same experience. Despite it all, I endured everything because my in-laws were there for me. However, I suddenly lost that support when my daughter Mia turned 6 months old. My mother-in-law was capitulated to illness. The shock of her departure left everyone struggling to cope with their emotions. I need to visit Dad because I'm worried about him, my husband said. All right. Let me know if there's anything I can help with. During this time, my husband often visited his father's home, leaving me and my daughter alone. Sometimes he would return home late at night. I asked him why, and he replied, Dad feels lonely being alone. But you see your dad at work too, right? Can't you ask Sophia to help with family matters? You're quite cold-hearted. Even though Dad is feeling isolated, you're suggesting I abandon him. He looked at me in disbelief. That's not what I meant. Although I initially voiced my wish for more quality time with our delightful daughter, I came to recognize the significance of parental care. I fell silent thereafter. As time passed, Mia turned 4. Michael's visits to his father's house persisted daily, often keeping him out late at night. I confronted him about his actions. Michael, you've been occupied lately, haven't you? Is it challenging for you to check on your dad's well-being? I can go instead. Yet he insisted, don't go to my dad's place. It wouldn't sit well with Sophia, and I want to avoid unnecessary conflicts. His steadfastness in keeping me away from the family home aroused suspicions. Defying his directive, I decided to visit my father-in-law myself. To my surprise, he welcomed me warmly. I've been taking cooking classes and enjoying them, he shared cheerfully. His demeanor was far from what Michael had portrayed. Then my father-in-law accidentally revealed a remark that left me stunned. Weeks later, out of the blue, my husband suggested, why don't we all gather at my dad's place and have a meal? I hesitated, mindful of Sophia's potential disapproval if I visited his dad. His unexpected proposal heightened my suspicions. He persisted. It's okay. Sophia invited us today, so are you coming? Get ready quickly. Michael appeared unusually flustered. Despite the departure from our usual routine, I agreed to my husband's suggestion, and the 3 of us, my daughter, him and I, headed to his father's house. Upon arrival, a delightful aroma greeted me at the entrance of my in-laws' home. Sophia, my sister-in-law, welcomed me warmly. Olivia, welcome. I've been preparing dinner while waiting for you, she said, leading us inside and offering treats and toys to Mia. Expecting her usual barbed comments, I was taken aback by Sophia's kindness this time. Still, I remained cautious. I couldn't afford to let my guard down. Perhaps she was planning to play culinary tricks to spite me. But my suspicions proved baseless. Michael mentioned your favorite dishes. I hope they meet your approval. Surveying the table, I found an assortment of my preferred foods. Gratefully, I responded, thank you, though lingering doubt colored my emotions. Sophia added jokingly, don't worry, no poison or anything. I never doubted that. Then unexpectedly, Sophia apologized. Olivia, I've been unkind to you all this time. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope we can move forward. Despite my reservations, I chose to let go of further animosity. I smiled back at Sophia, willing to make an effort to mend our relationship. Great, since we're about the same age, let's chat about various things. Oh, how about staying overnight tonight? But I haven't packed anything, I said. You can use my cosmetics, right? Let's do that. Michael, it's okay, isn't it? Caught up in Sophia's enthusiasm, I had little chance to decline. This was a significant step toward reconciliation. With that in mind, I accepted her invitation. Sophia was engaging, and before I knew it, I genuinely enjoyed our time together. The hours passed swiftly, and eventually, the three of us settled down to sleep in the room with my late mother-in-law's memorial portrait. I must have misunderstood Sophia. From now on, I'll be more understanding. I said to my husband, "That's great. I'm happy that you two are getting along." He said, lying down. As our daughter slept soundly between us, I drifted off into sleep. However, in the middle of the night, "Mom, we need to go right now. Grandma said so," Mia suddenly shouted, jolting me awake. Startled by her voice, I sat up. "What? What's going on?" Despite my sleepiness, I made sure of my daughter. Since my mother-in-law passed away when Mia was around 6 months old, she shouldn't remember anything. I wondered if Mia was still half asleep, but her eyes were wide open, and she wore an anxious expression. "If we stay like this, we'll be killed." Mia tugged at my hand, urging me to leave the room. As I glanced to tell my husband about the situation, he wasn't there. He should have been asleep. Where could he have gone at a time like this? But I couldn't dwell on that now. I chose to trust Mia's words and escape. My daughter possessed a mysterious power. When my friends were all pregnant one after another, she accurately predicted the gender of each baby in their bellies. She also warned me when Michael was about to get injured. Michael did indeed hurt himself by slipping on the stairs, but luckily it was just a minor sprain. However, since that incident, both Michael and Sophia started avoiding Mia, saying she was creepy. It's natural for some people to feel that way, so we decided to keep this power a secret between Mia and me. Grandpa needs to escape with us too. Mia halted at her grandfather's door, entered, and gently woke him. "Grandpa, wake up quickly. We'll explain later, but please come with us and leave." Startled by our urgent voices, my father-in-law sprang up. Though visibly perplexed, he eventually agreed to step outside after Mia insisted. "Grandma told us to." As we approached the front entrance, I noticed something amiss. My husband and sister-in-law's shoes were absent, and neither of their cars occupied the parking lot. Could Mia's warning be linked to them? We opted to walk back to my house, a journey that would have taken just 10 minutes by car, but stretched to over an hour on foot. I called my mother and requested she pick us up. Arriving at my house in her car, I observed lights ablaze inside, and to my astonishment, Michael and Sophia's car was parked there too. "Mom, I hate to impose, but can we stay at your home tonight? I have an unsettling feeling, and entering our house might be dangerous." And so we stayed at my mom's house that night. My mind raced, and sleep eluded me. As morning dawned, I couldn't shake the weight of my daughter's words. Borrowing my mother's car, I drove solo to my in-laws' house. To my disbelief, the grand, imposing structure that had stood mere hours ago now lay in ruins, charred and skeletal. Wait, this can't be happening. Several fire trucks, police cars, and ambulances lined up in front of the in-laws' home, surrounded by curious onlookers on the other side of the yellow tape. Michael and Sophia were deep in conversation with police officers and firefighters, detailing the situation. I slipped into the crowd of spectators, concealed from their view, and silently watched the unfolding scene. After some time, some of the emergency vehicles departed, and the crowd began to disperse. The once bustling area in front of the house now stood deserted. Hiding in the shadow of a nearby car, I eavesdropped on my husband and sister-in-law as they stood outside the taped-off area, gazing at the charred remains of our once magnificent home. It's all gone up in flames. Mia and Olivia are probably done for. They won't be any use if they somehow survive. It's unbelievable. Once things settle, I'll marry my mistress and make her kid the rightful heir to this place. The chilling words reverberated in my ears, causing my legs to tremble so violently that standing became a challenge. And with Dad likely out of the picture too, the inheritance is ours, and the company will be mine soon. Michael and Sophia exchanged a laugh as they discussed their sinister intentions. They're despicable. I can never forgive them, I thought. Driven by fear and anger, my entire body shook. Before they could return to my home, I hurriedly drove back, gathered my belongings, and returned to my mother's home, where my daughter and father-in-law awaited. There, I recounted the earlier events at the in-laws' house to my father-in-law. There's something you need to know. Oh my, how could this happen? This is unforgivable. His face twisted with shock and rage, and together we resolved to seek justice against my husband and sister-in-law. That evening, I left Mia with my mother and stood outside my home's front door with my father-in-law. I reached for the intercom but then hesitated. This was my own house. There was no need for that. Instead, I decided to open the front door myself. As I fumbled with the lock, I heard a rattling sound, and cautiously, Michael peered out from inside. What? His face went pale, and he quickly retreated into the room. Moments later, he returned with Sophia trailing behind him. Why are you here? Her expression mirrored his shock, mouthing the words silently, but upon noticing our gaze, she swiftly clung to my father-in-law, feigning relief. Thank goodness you're safe. We couldn't find any sign of you, and they reported finding nothing in the burnt wreckage. We were so worried. Yeah, I prayed you were all okay. Michael joined in, pretending to embrace me tightly. I pushed his arms away and distanced myself from my husband. Don't touch me. Through Mia, your mom guided us. Mom? But she passed away 4 years ago. Exactly. Don't talk nonsense. Are you going to bring up Mia's strange abilities again? It's unsettling. Both of them furrowed their brows and adamantly denied Mia's words. Fine. Let's go inside for now. This is my house too, and your dad is here. Brushing past them, I ushered my father-in-law into the house. As we entered the living room, Michael, who followed us, placed a hand on my shoulder and started to speak. Wait, didn't I tell you not to touch me so casually? Oh, Olivia, are you having one of your episodes? Maybe your hormones are acting up. This is why women in their 40s get a bad rap. Sophia sneered, reverting to her usual disdainful tone. The remorse from the previous day's apology had vanished, revealing her true nature filled with malice, even in front of my father-in-law. That's enough to infuriate anyone. You and Michael orchestrated this fire, didn't you? I stared at my husband and sister-in-law, hitting the nail on the head. Wait, there's no evidence to support such accusations. It's impossible. Despite his anxious denial, Michael stood his ground. Meanwhile, Sophia appeared composed, almost indifferent. Olivia, suspecting your own family? Something must be wrong with you. Being raised by a single parent, you lack that kind of affection. But I have evidence. I overheard both of you discussing the burnt house early this morning. I glanced back and forth between them as I spoke. Eavesdropping, huh? And besides, hearing something in such a chaotic situation, it's not credible. Yeah, the police won't take vague stories like that seriously. Sophia was unyielding, with Michael hiding behind her, echoing her sentiments. This dynamic seemed well established. Is this your voice? I pulled out my smartphone and played the recorded audio. It captured their conversation from that morning. Why would you do this? When Mia woke me up in the middle of the night and neither of you was there, I became suspicious. I wasn't sure if I could record it properly, but I managed to capture it. Even though there was some distance, it was clear that the voices were yours. Confronted with the audio evidence, Michael and Sophia fell silent. I'll submit this to the police. They'll believe it. Wait, you all escaped unharmed, so there's no harm done. What are you saying? You put us in a life-threatening situation, and your father's home ended up like that. This is a crime. Do you understand? Growing more agitated, I confronted my husband's absurd statements. Sophia, you're not exempt from this. You will be held accountable. Don't get cocky, you wretch, she lashed out, her hostility towards me palpable, but I couldn't waste time arguing with her. Enough, I said, taking a deep breath and locking eyes with both of them once more. And what did you mean by waiting for things to calm down and then marrying your affair partner, legitimizing a secret child? Well, Michael seemed caught off guard by the direct questioning, stumbling over his words before falling silent. You thought you could remain silent when it became inconvenient, but there's evidence. This woman, right? I confronted them, brandishing a photo I'd pulled from my bag. Wait. Why did you investigate this so thoroughly? Sophia, what should we do? We're caught. He turned to his sister, his panic evident, but Sophia merely glared at me without offering any assistance, leaving Michael deflated. In truth, I had harbored suspicions about my husband's infidelity for some time, and had quietly conducted my investigation. That morning, I quickly retrieved the evidence I had accumulated. How long have you known? Well, it began when your visits to your dad's place became more frequent and stretched into late nights. But I became certain when your dad disclosed something to me. Despite Michael warning me not to visit his dad, I defied his directive one day. My father-in-law shared something surprising, a detail that only you would know. While I initially believed Michael was merely checking in on his dad, discovering Sophia in the photo suggested otherwise. I confronted them, thrusting the evidence in their faces. How long have you known? It started when your visits to your dad's became more frequent and prolonged. But I became sure when your dad mentioned something peculiar, something only you could have shared. So what? Isn't it your fault for being cheated on? You lack any charm, Sophia retorted, clearly aware of the situation. Among the evidence I had gathered were photos showing the gradual growth of the affair partner's pregnant belly, and most recently, images of Michael and the affair partner strolling with their baby. Olivia, it's not what you think. There's a valid reason. Suddenly, my husband changed his tone, attempting to justify himself. Just as I was about to confront them further, my father-in-law, who had silently observed the situation until now, stood up and positioned himself protectively in front of Michael and Sophia. What are you both doing? Bullying Olivia and even endangering our lives? What's your intention? His furious tone left my husband and sister-in-law speechless. Dad, listen to me. It's all Sophia's fault. She wanted me to be with that woman because she didn't like Olivia. But you were always complaining about your wife, too, so I mediated between you and that woman. No one asked for your interference. Besides, you were the one who said our daughter Mia couldn't be the heir because she's a girl. But that's the truth, Dad. You agree with me, right? And don't worry, the child in the photo with that woman is a boy. Our lineage is secure. Michael and Sophia argued back and forth, debating who was to blame. Through their exchange, the reason for my sister-in-law's animosity toward me became clear. Being the same age as me, she couldn't comprehend why I was happily married with children while she faced a series of rejections and remained single. Her envy of my apparent happiness fueled the years of mistreatment I endured. Sophia, desperate to break up my marriage, used her compliant brother to impregnate her affair partner with a baby boy. This is outrageous. It's beyond cruel, I thought, my anger welling up again, my clenched fist trembling uncontrollably. Enough of this, my father-in-law shouted, and both of them fell silent, their demeanor resembling chastised children shrinking before an angry dad. Olivia, I truly apologize. I've raised such foolish individuals and I bear responsibility. My father-in-law apologized repeatedly, and I offered him my best smile. Without hesitation, I turned to Michael and fixed him with a stern gaze. We need a divorce, I declared, handing him the divorce papers with my section already filled out. This saves us the trouble of negotiating. We'll officially welcome the affair partner's child as the heir. Sophia snatched the papers from my hand before Michael could even react, dancing with apparent delight. Yeah, that settles it, Michael echoed in the same tone as Sophia. Unbelievable. As long as I'm alive, I won't let it happen. He glared at them. Dad, what are you saying? Shouldn't we be celebrating? Sophia's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Sophia, I'm cutting all ties with you. Don't ever cross my path again. Michael, the same goes for you. You're fired from the company, my father-in-law pronounced decisively. Wait a minute. Without me, the company would collapse. Can we reconsider this? Exactly. If you sever ties with us, you'll be all alone. And what about the inheritance? Their concerns centered around money. My father-in-law's expression momentarily revealed a hint of sadness upon hearing this. You're both strangers to me now. The company and the inheritance are no longer relevant. What? Sophia erupted in anger, while my husband, visibly flustered, attempted to reason with his father. Dad, please reconsider, Michael pleaded, shaking his father's shoulders. The heir will be Mia, my grandchild who saved our lives. With that declaration, my father-in-law let out a heavy sigh. Wait, Mia is my child, so I might still get a share of the inheritance, right? Michael grinned audaciously, posing the question to me. I couldn't help but question his nerve. She doesn't want to see you. After everything that's happened, she's scared, and there are hardly any memories between you, I replied firmly. I'm her father. I won't allow it, Michael cried. However, this is the outcome of your inaction over the past 4 years. After the divorce, I'll respect our daughter's wishes and won't insist on visitation rights. I don't want this. I don't want a divorce, Olivia, please, Michael wailed loudly, clinging to me. Olivia, I apologize for everything. Please convince Dad to reconsider. Even Sophia, seeking mediation, pleaded with me. Though both of you may be focused on divorce and estrangement, you both need to go to the police now regarding the fire incident. Do you understand? Please, let's not involve the police. I promise to be a better husband and father. I won't let Sophia manipulate me anymore. Let's start anew, as a family of 3. Seriously, let's not bring the police into this. What about my career? Even after everything that's happened, they still seem to think only of themselves and say whatever they want. Enough. Reflect on your actions and make amends. I firmly rejected them, pushing them away. Michael and Sophia mumbled in response, collapsing to their knees. Afterward, I took both of them to the police station and submitted the audio evidence. They confessed and were arrested in connection with the recent fire incident. The divorce with Michael was completed, and he agreed to pay $20,000 in alimony for the affair, along with monthly child support of $400 for our daughter. Since he'll be behind bars for a while, I intend to collect those payments when he's released. As a bonus, I also received a tidy $7,000 in compensation from the affair partner. Sophia faced the same fate. With her conviction confirmed, she lost her job. Of course, she was also abandoned by her father and separated from the brother she doted on. She's now all alone. Well, it's a consequence of her actions. My father-in-law, with whom I still keep in touch, remains committed to working until Mia inherits the company. Our daughter is eager to take on the role of president at Grandpa's company. These days, life feels tranquil, and I find myself genuinely